What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how I master my tracks. If you can afford to have your tracks mastered professionally, I highly suggest you doing that, but for most people that's not really fucking practical. So what I did is I mixed down my track that I just finished. I reduced the volume by -3 dB. Made sure the marker was right in the beginning. Also with Ableton, you want to make sure, see, these fades are open like that in the beginning at least. At the end, it's not really going to make a difference, but in the beginning, it's just going to fuck up the transient of that first kick. Whoops, not that. So let's go to the master rack. This is what I have on here. I have a glue compressor. I don't even need this EQ8. I have an OTT, a bit warmer saturation, a cyclone compressor from SoundSpot, Ozone 8, which has a rack within itself, and the Fab Filter Pro L limiter. I'm going to shut everything off, and we're going to work from left to right. So what I like to do is I like to find the loudest spot of the track, which just happens to be right here, and I just like to loop it. Whoops, we had OTT still on. But alright, so you get the gist of what the track sounds like. First is the glue compressor. I have a slow attack at 10 milliseconds and automatic release, and the ratio set to 4. I have the soft clipping on because the soft clip is working as a subtle limiter as well. And when you're mastering, you want to do a bunch of little subtle changes of compression and limiting instead of just one big fat fucking compressor that's just going to distort the shit out of your sound. So I have the threshold set to -15, and depending on your track and how loud it is, your threshold is going to fluctuate. You basically just want to get about 4 to 5 dB of gain reduction. Also, when you do upload your mix into the DAW, you want to have some headroom. So that's why I lowered it by 3 dB, because I wanted some headroom while I was mastering this. Yeah, so I am getting about 4 to 4.5 dB of gain reduction, so I just make it up with the makeup knob. And what I like to do is I usually turn this to 100%, and then I close my eyes and I find a sweet spot between 0 and 100. If it sounds good uncompressed, then just trust your ears and leave it like that. But I found it pretty good at like 62. I'm going to close my eyes right now and just do another test. Alright, yeah, so I closed my eyes and I got to 57%. I'm going to put it back to 62 because I like the settings I had here. Next is OTT. OTT is an over-the-top compressor. It's a multi-band compressor. It's a Ableton preset, and I fucking love it. You're going to want to be careful with the amount here. You can also control your output from all the different bands. I usually leave it at 10.3, 5.7, and 10.3. And I usually have this anywhere between like 7 to like 15% on the dry wet. And you're going to hear, if I pump this up, it's just going to get really squished and really quiet. Alright, and we're going to leave it like that. So the next thing is the saturator, and we're going to use a bit warmer. That's a preset also from Ableton with 6.2 dB of drive. And you're also going to want to be careful with the dry wet on here. This is going to add some color to your mix. It's just going to add some brightness and a little bit of a little bit of compression with the saturation. I don't know why, I just like it at 11.1. So we have 2 compressors and a saturator on here. We're going to put another compressor on here. This is the Cyclone compressor by SoundSpot. I actually didn't like this compressor when I first bought it, but it was like $8 or $10, and now that I've used it and I've experimented with it and tried it out in different situations, I fucking love this compressor. For like $8 or $10, it's a great compressor to have. I'm just using it to get some gain reduction. I have no makeup on this, and I'm getting like half a dB of gain reduction, I think. Alright, yeah, so I get like negative 0.4 dB of gain reduction, and that's it. I want very subtle changes. Next is Ozone 8. So Ozone 8 is going to have a rack within itself. I have an EQ8 here. That's why I deleted the EQ8 from Ableton in the beginning of the video, because I have it within Ozone. And I really didn't do much. I just boosted a little bit with a band at like 1.6 kilohertz. And yeah, like 0.4 dB. So this is what it sounds like. Oh, we got to turn Ozone on. Alright, next is Dynamics. And Dynamics is like a compressor and a limiter, and it's really not doing much again. I actually have the dry wet all the way at 100, and it's barely going over the threshold, so this is what we get here. And it's also separating it into bands, and you got your highs, your high mids, your low mids, and your lows, and you can solo each sound to hear what's happening to each band in the spectrum. Alright, so the maximizer is a limiter, essentially, but I'm really just using it as a makeup knob for all the compression I did in the previous steps. So if I was to turn this threshold down, you'll see that I will get some gain reduction, and it will visually show here. Sorry for anyone who I just fucked their ears up, but you can hear when I turn it on and off, it's just going to get a little more volume when I turn it on. Next is the imager. So the imager is going to be a way of controlling the stereo image of each band throughout the spectrum. And what you can do here, like you can do with the Dynamics, you can do this in the limiter. You play the track and you hit learn, and it's going to basically set these points for you for what it thinks the subs is, what it thinks the low mids, the high mids, what the highs are. Or you can manually set them. I usually let it choose these two poles, I guess, to fit these three bands, but I like to manually play around with this band. And what I do is, for the subs, you just bring it to 100% mono. For the low mids, you play around. You can solo each band, by the way. Sorry, guys, I had some Doritos. I'm burping. So that's pretty much what I do. I bring this all the way down to full mono. I bring these in a little bit. I could bring these in a little more. Alright. And then after that, you can look at the vector scope, and you can see pretty much the stereo image of the track. So if it's straight here, it's in the middle, and the longer it goes here, it's going to be a wider sound. So like if I solo this, it's going to be just a straight line. Also on the vector scope, you have this +1, 0, and this -1 scale. You want this to always be above 0, which basically is going to mean that your track is mono compatible for different systems and stuff like that. If it dips down for like a little, like half a second or something, that's fine, but you really want it pushing towards +1 the whole time. And that's it. So let's get to the limiting stage. Before we limit, let's just hear what we got. Let's play the difference. Alright, so sounds pretty good. Now we're just going to make it louder. Also, when you're mastering, you don't want to fuck up the mix. Don't get too crazy with like, oh, I can make this louder, this could be brighter, shit like that. Just subtle changes, alright? And then it's all going to sound better once you limit it. I have the output set to -0.1, which is just like the industry standard. If you read blogs or articles on the Pro L, everyone's going to say set the output to -0.1. The noise shaping is optimized. The dithering is at 16 bits, and the oversampling is at 4 times. I have the transparent style. There's 4 different styles: all around, dynamic, punchy, and transparent. I like the transparent one. If you experiment, you'll see that each style has a few different characteristics to it. And for the look ahead now, I have a quick look ahead because I realized that if you have a quicker look ahead, you can get a little bit more volume out of your track without getting that much more gain reduction. And that also goes for having a slower attack and a faster release. So I have the release at 120 milliseconds. I have the attack at like 1000 milliseconds. And the look ahead at like 0.39 milliseconds, which is pretty fucking quick. So you also have these 2 levels here. The blue is going to be the volume of your track, and it's going to show peak and the RMS, and then the red is going to show the gain reduction that you're getting. I really don't like to push like anything past -6 dB. I really try for like 4 or 5 maybe. But if I have to like really get that louder, I'll try to get to 6. Anything after that, I notice, no matter what, you're usually getting some sort of distortion, and it's just gonna fuck up your track. You also want to try to get your track to at least -8 dB for the loudness. -6 is ideal. I've seen people get to -5, like the pros do that, but like anywhere between 6 and 8 is pretty good. So how we're gonna do this is we're just gonna slowly bring up the gain knob, but we're gonna play the track. We're gonna keep an eye on the gain reduction, and we're gonna keep an eye on our output. Turn the limiter on too. Alright, so I'm actually very happy with that I'm only getting like 3.5 dB of gain reduction, and I'm already pushing almost -6 dB. So that's actually a pretty loud track, actually. I'm very happy with that, so I'm pretty surprised how loud that was. I don't remember it being that loud. But we could just delete these. That's it, guys. That's how I master my tracks. I'm sure there's going to be people that comment on this. Oh, you did this wrong, like, you fucked this up. Guys, if I did something wrong, tell me, because I'd love to like get your input, see what you guys do, because that's how we're going to learn. Also, if you have any questions, comment on the video, and let me know if you want to see anything specific, and I'll gladly do that. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.